volunteer program, we can get a lot of these young people in their 20s are very web and all of this savvy that we can come and help us to build this rather than we don't need to pay them.
I have recently, for the first time apparently, at WBAI put up a volunteer page. Who knew we didn't have that? So I will be putting these kinds of requests on that page because it's incredibly important. People looking for entertainment. We will also be signing up with volunteermatch.com very shortly.
Thank you.
Also, people can work with the programming committee of this board. Next, for people who want to follow up on any of this, next person I have Janet, Vajra, and Andrea.
A public comment someday today, yes?
That's a few seconds of yours. I want to talk a little bit about the backstage drama of every fundraising drive, because I think that everybody should have a real understanding of how it's like a Broadway opening every hour. It's a show that is always going on and you are improvising it basically. You don't know what the result is. It's always in previews. So that even these premiums that we're talking about that sound so great on the page, you know, engulfed anatomy of an ecocide and the WBAI freedom file, we are still gambling when we put those on the air. We don't know whether they'll work and whether they will bring in the same response. And that's part of why these things get played and replayed, because if they work, or if they work twice, you know, as well in the middle of the night as they work in the middle of the day, that's like some kind of a, you know, a bonus, and it's almost impossible to resist in our desperate financial state. It's also true that there are two people here now, used to be three, who are constantly on call, pitching, assisting, running from tally room to, you know, to sorting out premiums, to getting stuff on the air, to making sure that there's a show on the air. And that really, I mean, there's nothing like it. It is exhausting. And by the time the drive is over and the goal has been met, people are in a state of true collapse. And I think it really has to be recognized. And so that's why, I mean, whatever we can do to alleviate, you know, to raise money in another way. And I think if we have an old audience, and if they are, the average age is 63 years old, let's take advantage of their impending death and try and get them to will their money to WBAI. That's the core audience that really loves us.
This scares me. I'm going to be awkward.
Right, Gary Noel, he says won't let them die.
Funny, Janet. It's so not funny. It is funny.
I heard everyone laughing.
Everyone was laughing.
Everyone is out laughing.
I want to say also just a little bit more about you know, the idea about having progressive voices on the air. We should keep in mind that in Lou Hill's original landscape, we had Ayn Rand, and we had what was that guy's name? Huh? William Buckley was a WBAI person. You know. You may hiss, but the idea here is to explore the causes of conflict, not only to put on the air the things you already like to hear. So that really requires a subtlety and sophistication, and you're shaking your head no, but I know you have a very different sense of humor from mine, so I see the windshield wipers are going back and forth. But anyway,
Make it personal, please.
And the other thing I want to say, but I do think this programming for WBAI and the world of intellect and ideas and art is quite complicated and quite subtle and quite sophisticated, and we don't always know what the audience is responding to and why it you know. I mean, that's why it's like a Broadway show every minute. And I also want to say that Majid Ali does talk about all those ecological issues, and you know, he does. Has a very strong political commitment in all of his medical, in the way that he carries his medical positions forward. So I don't think that, I really don't want to see him included in a list of somebody who wants you to, what was your description, Mitch? You said, no, not to shoot them. I didn't say to shoot them, I said take advantage of the end of life. Most nonprofit organizations do this, and they have a program so that people can leave money to, leave money. Anyway, I guess that's it.
Next is Vajra.
Okay, I just
Microphone, please.
I just want to point out the danger of confusing oneself with a radio station or a network, or with a group of people confusing themselves with a radio station or a network. Because I was present at one of Tim Wise's talks about issues at WBAI and at the network, and I have seen the DVD of another talk that he gave. He raises very interesting issues. He is not tearing down the network. He is not tearing down WBAI. He is addressing real issues. And one of the reasons, in fact, why Tim Wise has always been a very popular premium is because he tells the truth. And people are starved for the truth. They are starved for it. That is why Tim Wise and Joy DeBree have traditionally done well. And it is of a piece with the tendency to ban, to throw out, to silence, to censor, to imagine. Which was the French king who said, "L'État c'est moi"? Louis XIV. Okay. Well, the station is not you. Okay? It is not, and it is not one group of people who have managed to seize control for the moment. And it is most I mean, here we have somebody saying, well, why not have the equivalent of Buckley come on to take unpopular sides of things. At the time that William Buckley was on these radio stations, there was no overwhelming right-wing radio everywhere you turn. Yeah. So that balance is way out of whack now. But to suggest that we could be brave enough to have right-wing people on it, and to suggest that we are not brave enough, and we are not smart enough, and we are not strong enough in our positions to have someone who has pointed out that there are certain contradictions going on here and have an honest discussion about that on the air and allow that to be had on the air. So that would be smart. That would be smart. But I again want to go back to the station is not one person. The station is not a few people. The station has a mission, and it's way off mission as things stand now. A lot of that morning programming that took the place of the morning show, not very gripping. Why? Because it's not very truthful. It's not very helpful.
Which is this?
Okay.
The wake-up call?
No, what replaced it what came in the 9 to 10 hour that replaced Democracy Now, which replaced the last hour of Wake Up Call. So I really think that premiums do well when people like them. Malcolm X has not given a speech in a very long time, and the best that I ever did at fundraising in that 2-hour slot from 7 to 9 on a Monday was on Malcolm X's birthday. We did exponentially better than we've often done. Why? Because Malcolm told the truth. And the farther this radio station strays from the truth, and the more people cater to their own bamboozlement, the worse off we're going to be.
The last person I have on the staff who hasn't spoken yet.
Thank you, Tony. I want to thank you. And I want to thank also Manijeh. Thank you, and I want to also thank Manijeh for her comments too. It's very difficult for me to say what I'm going to say or to ask what I'm going to ask. I think actually I remember the day when BAI pitched its first premium. I think it was the person just before Paul Gorman on a Saturday morning added a premium to his pitching, and Paul Gorman came on the air and was absolutely horrified. And, and of course, I have to say that I would hope, and I know that it was absolutely wearing and tearing on the staff to have to pitch all the time. You could hear in the fund drives that and I know that we hope that that it's our radio that would raise the money for us alone. But somehow, I think we're right now caught in a situation where the programming at BAI and really at all of Pacifica has been demeaned for a number of years, for a long stretch of years, which is why we don't have an audience. It's not just that the premiums are boring and we hear them all the time, but the programming itself has been diminished significantly. And I would love to think that we could build our programming back up. I realize the straits you are in, that we're all in right now. But I would hope that we could build our programming back up to a point where that is a major draw, no matter what premiums we're pitching. Obviously, Chris Wendt does really well in the first week, and then he doesn't have enough listeners, perhaps, to sustain a huge draw every week without premiums. But but he does raise money without premiums. Do you envision a time or a way, or is this something, this is almost rhetorical because I assume you are, where we can get back to raising money on the needs for the station and the programming alone? Or, I mean, significant, that could be the major draw for us.
I am hopeful. However, I will reiterate, I find that we are Americans. It's just the case. And we like our trinkets and our shiny things, and we want something for our money. I'm very hopeful that we can move, even if we could do it with one strip of programming, if we could move away from it, if we could build an audience in one place and just begin to move back toward that. I don't see it as an immediate reality. I think we should work toward it, though, with all speed. I think that we should absolutely work toward it with all speed. The other thing that I would say is, I would ask of this body, and of anybody connected with the station, even if you have ideas about how we might raise money off the internet, you're clearly not going to be involved because that would have happened already. But if you have ideas, I'll tell you one of the things that I was able to do at the not just me, but that we were able to do at the Los Angeles station. I made really funny promos for car donations. We were able to sustain at least $6,000 a month coming into the station, often up to $11,000 and $13,000 per month with car donations. If we could just use the creativity of the staff to participate in that, and then to have them regularly. And one of the things that you may not understand too that we're handicapped by is that we don't have a traffic coordinator. It is a key position at a radio station. It is the person who puts crosses every T and dots every I, who puts a schedule together of everything that's going to go on the air. Without a traffic coordinator, promos just kind of happen, wherever they might happen, or whomever's in the mood to play a certain promo might just play it. With a traffic coordinator, I'd be able to strategically place those promos for car donations, for instance, where they made sense and where people would hear them enough to begin to generate an actual monthly income. Bertold has another idea that we're going to work on to try to get a sustained, get people sustaining us monthly. So those are a couple of the things that we're working on so that we have some kind of income coming off that isn't just us on the air during fund drives. And that will, give us some leeway in terms of who we might put on the air, who might not raise that much money. During the damned flotilla attack, we had, what's the brother's name that was on? David Okudo was doing a fundraising special. David ain't the strongest fundraiser at the station, but he did a show that was so incredible. I mean, he did a show on military men returning home and what they're having to go through. It was a fantastic program. And I just relaxed and let it happen because we needed to have the program, and it wasn't raising any friggin' money. It was just, I was crying at first, and then I was like, all right, just let this go. It's a holiday, the flotilla attack has happened, everybody's glued to the television, let it slide over. The guest that he had on literally received emails from around the world, literally from around the world, thanking him for having done that program. And so, if we can have those money streams coming in from other wares, we can afford to do that from time to time. And we have a producer like David Okudo who can handle that and bring that to the table. But you have to balance how great that producer is, or any producer, with their ability to also raise money during the fund drives and how effective they are. And until we move at least even a little beyond this place where we and I don't think that it's just us, but our audience is also keying in on the premiums. We can't do that regularly, but I do hope, I'm very hopeful, and I do envision a time where we can move not fully away from the premium-driven fund drives, but toward a solution at least.
I'd like to thank Tony Bates for being here. And we